Guys, I'm Dustin Davis, and today we're covering the hottest Bears stories. The offseason arrives with questions Chicago's front office can no longer postpone. Veterans occupy roster spots with substantial price tags, yet their contributions haven't translated into the breakthrough many anticipated. While the regular season continues, decisions made in the coming months will determine whether this organization builds on recent momentum or resets its trajectory entirely. Expectations were elevated entering this campaign, but familiar obstacles resurfaced when playoff elimination arrived earlier than hoped. The coaching staff now evaluates personnel fit within an evolving system, and certain high-profile names face uncertain futures despite their proven track records. Chicago's leadership must weigh talent against cost, production against potential, and short-term competitiveness against long-term vision. The franchise stands at a crossroads familiar to many competitive teams, talented enough to contend, yet missing critical pieces that separate contenders from champions. How management addresses these gaps will shape not just next season, but the organization's ceiling for years to come. Let's analyze all the news from Chicago. First of all, let me take a moment to ask for your help. If you enjoy our videos, give us a like. It's a great way to keep the content going. Thanks for the support. November's trade deadline came and went without significant roster movement, yet multiple players who stayed put may simply be delaying inevitable transactions until March's league year begins. Veterans carrying hefty cap figures or unclear roles often find strategic value in waiting rather than forcing immediate resolution. Chicago Bears wide receiver DJ Moore represents one of those situations. ESPN's Bill Barnwell identified him before the trade deadline as a candidate for an unexpected departure, and although no deal materialized in November, questions about his fit in Ben Johnson's scheme and his financial impact persist as the coaching staff's first season nears its end. Barnwell's skepticism doesn't stem from talent deficiencies. Moore's abilities remain undisputed, rather than organizational alignment. His presence may not complement the roster construction Chicago's leadership envisions moving forward. The 28-year-old begins a 4-year contract extension valued at $110 million next season, yet his current production sits at a career-low 47.3 receiving yards per contest. Johnson's preferred personnel groupings appear to minimize reliance on Moore when the roster operates at full health. Two tight end sets with Cole Kmet and Kali Loveland dominate when both are available, while three receiver formations rotate Luther Burden III alongside Olamide Zaccheaus and Rome Odunze rather than leaning heavily on Moore's skill set. While offseason negotiations would provide cleaner transaction pathways than midseason chaos, Barnwell suggested he wouldn't be shocked to see Moore emerge as Chicago's expendable piece once March arrives. Any offseason trade involving Moore would likely generate day 2 draft capital, somewhere between a late second-round and third-round selection. Moore arrives with 4,000-yard campaigns on his professional record and maintains capabilities to serve as a primary target for contending clubs, including the Denver Broncos' 7-2 squad currently positioned for sustained playoff appearances. While roster questions loom large, one recent addition has already begun making his presence felt on the defensive side of the ball. CJ Gardner-Johnson joined Chicago's roster in late October, yet his influence on an injury-ravaged secondary materialized immediately. Signed on October 29th to address personnel gaps, the experienced defender has delivered 2 impactful performances across his initial appearances. NFL.com's Bobby Kodnak praised the signing's value on November 9th, writing that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is in the running for midseason pickup of the year. Kodnak highlighted Gardner-Johnson's turnover-generating instincts and noted how his arrival bolstered a defense already ranking among league leaders in takeaway production. A multi-positional defender capable of playing safety, nickel coverage, or attacking as a blitzer, Gardner-Johnson fits the archetype Dennis Allen clearly values. The two previously collaborated in New Orleans from 2019 through 2021, and Allen appears to know precisely how to maximize his capabilities. Gardner-Johnson's 2025 campaign began inconsistently, released from Houston after 3 contests and briefly assigned to Baltimore's practice squad. The reunion with Allen, however, seems to have rekindled his production. With Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon missing significant time, the secondary required a stabilizing veteran presence, and Gardner-Johnson has provided just that. Contract extension considerations balance cost against performance. At 27, Gardner-Johnson has demonstrated blitzing prowess and scheme compatibility. Primary considerations involve financial commitment and injury history. After circulating through 3 organizations this year while earning approximately $1.2 million, Gardner-Johnson may seek multi-year security or explore unrestricted free agency, though he clearly flourishes within Allen's system. Contract numbers 341A brings significant input to the NMFA, adding additional weight to Allen's values. Cornerback Nahshon White praised Gardner-Johnson's leadership qualities to The Athletic's Kevin Fishbain, describing him like an energy bug, consistently out there talking to guys, lauding his relentless effort and constant communication with fellow defensive backs.
Looking ahead, the front office faces critical decisions about how to address their most glaring weakness through next spring's draft. Competitive teams typically trade from depth or draft for immediate contribution rather than accept comprehensive rebuilds. Yet those playoff hopes would feel more secure if GM Ryan Poles had acquired a transformative edge rusher at 2025's deadline. Instead, Chicago lost Dayo Odeyingbo for the season to a torn Achilles, and the deadline acquisition of Tryon-Shoyinka, a veteran who has yet to record a sack this year, has done little to alleviate concerns about generating consistent quarterback pressure. Most organizations discover cornerstone edge rushers through the NFL draft. Elite, young pass rush talent rarely surfaces via trade, and free agent markets typically price those players beyond their actual production value. That reality explains why early 2026 mock drafts consistently project the Bears prioritizing an edge rusher with their first-round selection. Pro Football Focus's latest 2026 mock draft is illustrative. PFF's Trevor Sikkema projects Texas A&M's Cashius Howell to the Bears at number 18 overall, a player who has produced at an elite rate in college and grades among the nation's most disruptive pass rushers. Sikkema highlights Howell's production while acknowledging measurable concerns that could influence evaluation. Howell has been one of the best pass rushers in the country this season, though his arm length is reported to come in well short of NFL standards. That hasn't stopped him from producing. He owns an 89.4 PFF pass rush grade against true pass sets and a 24.7% pass rush win rate, one of the highest marks in the FBS. His explosiveness and bend make him a coveted pass rusher. Chicago's expected position at number 18 overall is encouraging. It signals a team on the contention fringe rather than a bottoming-out rebuild. That mid-first-round slot allows Poles to pursue premium talent without the desperation of a top 10 pick. From a schematic standpoint, a player with Howell's burst and bend would address a glaring need. However, Poles has shown tendencies to favor conventional NFL prototypes, and Howell's reported arm length, often cited near 30 inches, falls short of those archetypal standards. When production and measurable traits diverge, teams must weigh tape against measurables. In Howell's case, his tape and pressure metrics may very well force evaluators to prioritize production over raw dimensions when the draft board settles. Behind the scenes, Chicago was pursuing another move that came closer to completion than most fans realized before falling apart. Chicago was more active behind the scenes at the deadline than public transactions indicate. Their headline move, swapping picks with the Cleveland Browns for Tryon-Shoyinka, addressed depth concerns. They also discussed Jermaine Johnson with the Jets, but balked at the asking price. New reporting, though, shows Chicago pushed hard on another target before a deal evaporated. Ian Rappaport reports that New Orleans cornerback Alontae Taylor drew wide interest, with Chicago among the club's most engaged. Sources indicate the Bears advanced deep into talks to acquire Taylor, but ultimately saw the negotiations stall and fall short of a completed trade. The precise reasons remain unconfirmed. Regardless, the opportunity didn't materialize. Before the Colts finalized their blockbuster cornerback acquisition, league conversations around Taylor were active. Rappaport's timeline places the Bears in substantive discussions earlier in the week. Taylor, who is in a contract year, carries clear offseason value. Crucially, Taylor previously worked under Bears defensive coordinator Dennis Allen in New Orleans, making a reunion a natural schematic fit. Still, Chicago pivoted and finalized the Tryon-Shoyinka swap instead. Chicago's interest was logical. Their cornerback room has been injury depleted. Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon, and Terrell Smith have all missed significant time, and Taylor's versatility and experience in Allen's system suggested he could step in with minimal acclimation. In theory, he offered a near-term remedy to an exposed secondary. Failing to close such deals is a common deadline theme. Asking prices routinely exceed what buyers will pay, and sellers are rarely willing to strip roster pieces mid-season. New Orleans reportedly demanded compensation Ryan Poles considered too steep, the same dynamic that stalled talks for other targets. While disappointing in the short term, Poles' refusal to overpay preserved draft capital crucial for sustainable roster building. If the Saints had been willing to move Taylor for a later-round pick, Chicago likely would have transacted. When the price exceeded the value Poles placed on those assets, the Bears backed away. They tried. The market didn't align. Smart roster construction often looks conservative in the moment, but pays out over seasons. Did Ryan Poles make the right call walking away from the Alontae Taylor trade? Should the Bears have been more aggressive and met New Orleans' asking price to bolster their injured secondary? Or was preserving draft capital the smarter long-term move? Do you trust Poles' disciplined approach? Or do you think Chicago missed an opportunity? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Before you leave, drop a like and subscribe. Be part of our fan base and let's make Bears even stronger. Until the next video.